We got a Sundowner trailer in. It's an older trailer, I'm not sure what year it is. It doesn't quite show up anymore. The frame on these trailers are always garbage, and I've replaced a whole bunch of them. This one was done probably 12 years ago, and we put all new channel iron down the sides. New cross braces across to the old ones. Left them in there, just cut them off where everything was bad. And since then I've worked on all the uprights, and the wall has been fixed because they brought it out. And forever the gooseneck has looked bad. There's holes right up and through it. They put this black gunk on here, and it just holds all the moisture, and they just rot right out. So the deal was, the guy couldn't open the side door on the trailer and he wanted that fixed because it was jamming down in the bottom. We jacked it up off of the truck because I looked at it when it was on the truck. Sure enough, it was like way down. Jack it up with the jack on the frame. The trailer comes back to square, and the door worked fine. There's some bolt holes that are out there, and so we got looking at it, and every time you jacked it up, the roof would come down. If you set it onto the gooseneck on any pressure on it, there was enough room I could stick my finger right in between the roof at the top here. So right at this top piece, right between here, if you put it on the gooseneck, I can stick my finger straight right into there. And so the whole roof, the roof was the only thing holding the whole trailer. So we pulled the side panels out to check to see this here, and it doesn't look too bad. Like I said, it's been worked on before, most of the frame. But now it seems that the gooseneck is the issue. I tried to look online to see if anyone's fixed them, to see how this thing is actually fastened. I think it is actually just these bolts, because nothing is tied into the frame anywhere. So I think it's just these stainless, or whatever they are, I have to cut them out into this aluminum to support that wall. I can't find anything up in the top that really holds anything other than this is just holding the floor. There's nothing to it. There's some rivets in here for the floor. There's a couple down into this angle here. Those will be the main ones that'll be causing me trouble, I guess. But I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to get into, and I couldn't find any info on anybody doing the same repair on a Sundowner trailer. So I thought I would document it. So hopefully someone else has to do this job. Maybe they can get a little info from what I did. Okay, the Sundowner trailer, I got the gooseneck tore out of it. The only thing that really holds this in the front, there's like 4 rivets on each side there, and they go up into the main frame of the trailer. So if you drill those rivets out from the top, knock them down, that came loose. Everything is glued on with that 3M stuff. That's good stuff, whatever it is, but that they use on the sides. That's about all that was holding everything. Now they bring it in, these panels, to cut all these bolts off, or whatever they are. They're some sort of rivet. I'm not 100% sure. But they did weld into the inside here where that frame member comes in. So I had to take a plasma cutter and get that to cut out. I don't know why they would even hardly weld to that, because this stuff is like less than 1/16. This is not very heavy gauge. Like it really moves. So see, that didn't do nothing. It was welded to it, but that didn't provide any strength at all. Like this whole centerpiece, this is just a double panel here that they stick around the front. I had to take the one panel off so I could get at to cut everything from the top side. And that's it there. But you can see the structure in the front. There's not much to it. Those were where the 4 rivets were on each side of that centerpiece there that held that up, and there was a couple rivets that went into that tubing mainly to hold the floor, but the floor shouldn't be holding any of that structure. So what I got to do now is try to clean all this out of here. It's hard to get in there. I didn't want to take this whole panel off because those rivets are all on the inside door, and then I'd have to bolt it, which is probably not as good as those things. I'll have to get those ones out of there, but you get that the oxidization between, and then the rust builds in there, and the rust pushes things apart. So what I plan on doing is cutting this, and we're going to put it looks like I might put a heavy beam right across this top edge here, so there's something there to weld to. Weld that into the main frame here, and then run a downward support all the way down to my to the channel iron frame. And we fasten to that channel iron frame, then I can bring a gusset up on the inside of this aluminum out of steel, so it has some strength to it. Because that, you shouldn't be relying on any of the gooseneck top and the roof to support any load at all. It should all be tied directly into the to the frame at the bottom. So that took 3 hours. This was hard to get in there, to get those edges cut and get it to break loose because of the angle that's in there, and you can't really get in. So now I can get a grinder in there, and I'll have to grind all that and cut that out so I got a good surface there, and then I'll put that put a heavy brace right across the front. Like there's nothing, they're pretty, even the tire thing, when it was sitting on there, if you step on this tire bracket, it's just bolted into that sheet metal. Like there's not much to them. I guess that's why they're light and they haul light down the road, but that's what you get, I guess. So and these are all, this is gonna have to come out. There's like, they use really good steel rivets. I don't know what kind they are, but they are really strong insert in them, because you got to hammer that down before you can drill it out, or the drill won't even touch it. So anyways, I'll work on it and let you know how it looks after, and hopefully it's helpful for everybody. Thank you. Okay, this is the last part of the Sundowner trailer. Sorry if the first parts were a little bit wiggly, just using the phone, and it's kind of dark in underneath. I got 24 hours total, and just hours taking it apart and putting the new pieces in it. What I ended up doing, I'm trying to get a little bit of light in here, is that front piece that was an angle. I put a 2x6 1/4-inch wall tube all the way across, so I cut this top piece off so I could weld into it. Because of the angle, to get that thing in from the edges, I had to make it as 2 pieces, and then I welded it back together. Then what I did is I went down each side with a piece of 2x3 1/4-inch wall right down in, and was able to tie into the channel iron frame and weld that in. And then what I did is on the inside where it's meets up with the post, I went along and I welded down along the post. So then the gusset I used 1.5x3 gusset, cut a 45, welded that in there, welded the plate in, and because those rivets I'd cut off, So I made the plate with holes and then plug welded the rivets back on over top so that still has some structure to it. Then this whole front frame was cut out. We used the old gooseneck piece and welded tubing in there again, 1.5 inches by 3 on 45 for those gussets. Where the gooseneck fastened up in with those 4 rivets on each side, I did kind of the same thing, but I put bolts, 1/4 inch bolts, can't quite see it, up in through there. What I did was bolt that, make that piece with a template first to match the old one before I cut it off of the old frame. So then I could bolt that gooseneck piece onto the front, and then I could measure each side piece and get them cut and put each one up in and then tack it, because they're heavy. I added a little more angle out to the outside to support this outside wall. We got all that rust that was in through underneath all that coating that they put on there all off, and then it was primed with epoxy primer, and then we put a good industrial black paint on it. We put seam sealer in like it was before along the joints, and then just to touch up the old material where it is, I got the undercoating and just sprayed that along just to cover up the stuff on the bottom of that. That'll outlast the rest of it, I'm quite sure. And then I had both panels off of the top. I had to put those back in and then pop rivet them all. And then there was 100 pop rivets out of the outside of the gooseneck here, where it's all pop riveted together. So I replaced a whole bunch of them. We went, I think it's like 70 some pop rivets I ended up using. Now the door closes when it's hooked to the gooseneck. I'll just show you inside here. So what I did is tied, this is the 2x6 that goes right across. There's the seam where I split it, and then I welded it into the frame that was the uprights that were here. Cut a couple spots and was able to get in there and get that in. And I cut this used to mount from the other side, so I went down and cut that so I could get in there, and then I just drilled and pop riveted it all back on into that heavy tube. Same thing on this side. And then he wanted a board across here to keep stuff from falling out of the gooseneck, so we added a little angle iron on there so the first horse here, because it's a slant load, he's right up here. The last board he had on there was all chewed, so that'll prevent them from chewing that. Went around, resealed everything inside and touched up the paint. It was a little darker gray, but that'll work for what it is. It won't show everything quite as bad as it did. So the panels were out. They're a pretty heavy gauge panel, but there's not much holds them, just those rivets around the edge. And there's not a whole lot to the whole trailer. There was a couple bolts into the roof rivets that were out, so we replaced them. I bolted right through from the outside, re-drilled them. I'll show you here. Those couple were popped. They're 1/4 inch rivets, so I put a 1/4 inch carriage bolt through there, clamped that down, and then bolted that tight. So this is ready for the customer now. There's the old hitch. She was pretty crusty underneath all that coating that they put on there. It would be better if it just had paint instead of this stuff, because it gets a crack in it, the moisture gets in it. If you're racing in the wintertime, which this trailer gets used all winter. Any little crack, the salt and sand gets right into there, and it just eats it from the inside, and you can't get anything. But it wasn't that quarter wall either. I put quarter wall tubing in there. It was lighter than that. For a little bit of extra cost. Material is expensive right now, but that was I wanted to make sure that it was done up and it was good. So that should keep them rolling for quite a few more years now. I hope, because I know there's lots of trailers like this with that same stuff on them that all comes apart. So hopefully this helps, gives you some information so you know, you can kind of look at doing the same. If you have to do the same thing or you're sending it out to someone to do, they kind of know what to do, or you know what to expect when they get in it. So like I said, there was material costs. There's like $1,000 in material, and there's like 24 hours in labor to do that. So I hope it's helpful. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.